As Leonard Bernstein once said, "This will be our reply to violence, to make music more intensely, more beautifully, more devoutedly than ever before." This quote significantly relates to his outlook on life, as well as how it's contributed to his accomplishments in the classical music field as a conductor, a composer of a variety of styles of music, a pianist, a music educator enthusiast, a music theorist, and many more. Today, I would like to tell you how Leonard Bernstein's life and accomplishments have impacted the field of classical music. I have been in the field of classical music for approximately 10 years myself, and have also done extensive research on composers, including Leonard Bernstein. Leonard Bernstein is a wonderful example of doing what you love with disregarding stereotypes. He has also impacted the anti-racism in opera in the music field as well, which has been significantly increasing in the past year. There has also been a recently published article by Philip Ewell talking about racism in music theory. According to The New Yorker, updated on September 14th, 2020, it begins with the sentence, "Music theory is white," and goes on to argue that the whiteness of the discipline is manifest, not only in the lack of diversity in its membership, but also in a deep-seated ideology of white supremacy, one that insidiously affects how much music is analyzed and taught. Today, I'll be talking about two main areas of Leonard Bernstein's life. First, we will reside in the audience and learn about some of the background in classical music. And next, we will step on stage and determine his major world impacts in the classical music field. Hearing about Leonard Bernstein and his many accomplishments, you may think that he is a prodigy and must have started when he was 3 or 4 years old. But actually, according to the biography newsletter updated July 15th, 2020, he had quite an interesting childhood. Born in Massachusetts, his family was all about business and no music. He even had to raise his own money for piano lessons at age 10. He also studied music theory at Harvard and conducting at Curtis, which are very important colleges in the music field. He also had his own family later in life. According to the 2011 issue of American Music, his piece entitled "The Age of Anxiety" speaks volumes about the emotional tone of the United States at the dawn of McCarthyism. "It was," he later wrote, "my most American work." According to the Britannica website, updated October 10th, 2020, some of his well-known pieces were West Side Story, Chichester Psalms, The Age of Anxiety, and Kaddish. Now, these pieces are a variety of styles that he wrote for, such as Jewish hymns, jazz, musicals, symphonies, and many more. I just told you about Leonard Bernstein's early life, his impact on American symphonies, and some of his well-known compositions. And now we will be discussing the impacts he had on music education, opera racism, and classical music prejudice. He was an early advocate for including the arts in general education, which is a huge issue still in today's world. Commonly, arts are cut due to budget cuts before anything else in the general education curriculum. According to the November 1993 issue of the Chorale Journal, Leonard Bernstein was intent on making the learning process irresistibly fun by incorporating the arts into the central curriculum. In that same issue, Bernstein's fund, the BETA, Bernstein Education Through the Arts Act, is introduced. BETA was incorporated by Bernstein in 1989 to promote education through the arts. Under the current leadership of his son, Alexander, the fund continues to promote the dream of its founder, a culturally rich educational system in America, which still thrives today. According to the May 2012 issue of the Theater Journal, as we shall also see, the decision to use Puerto Ricans in a musical adaptation of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet appears to have occurred to Robbins, Bernstein, and Lawrence as an expeditious afterthought, motivated neither by explicit antipathy toward nor active interest in the lived experience of Puerto Ricans in New York City. Even so, critiques of the musical's representation of Puerto Ricanness have circulated. Due to Leonard Bernstein, an American, writing music for West Side Story about the Puerto Rican experience has raised a lot of thoughts about who writes music for what types of experience. And we finally begin to recognize the systemic racism in classical music as well as opera. This also rose questions about having non-Latinos play Latino roles in this opera. Leonard Bernstein has also had a wide range as a career path. As explained in the July 1960 issue of The Musical Times, the truth of the matter is that to appreciate Bernstein's talents, we in this country have to rid ourselves of certain inborn prejudices about what a musician should do and be. Above all, we have to understand that for the modern American musician, there is no clearly defined line between light and serious music. As Bernstein himself has said, "I love it all." Bernstein is a wonderful example of breaking stereotypes in the classical music field. Today, we first sat down in the audience and learned about Leonard Bernstein's background in classical music as well as his childhood and early life. And then we stepped on stage to recognize the major impacts he has had on the world around us. Although Leonard Bernstein is deceased, his music and his impact on the world is very much alive today. You can access his music via YouTube as well as live classical concerts. His quote from the beginning relates to how he's impacted music education with this type of thought, racism, intolerance, and pursuing any line of work by breaking the stereotypes in classical music and in the world. Thank you.